advising and assisting in the expansion and mobilization of US forces in preparation for a possible entry into World War II. He was given command of the 3rd Army and received acclaim and commendations for their successes against the 2nd Army in the 1941 War Games in Louisiana, after which he was promoted to Brigadier General. 5 days after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Secretary of War General George Marshall summoned Eisenhower to Washington and appointed him to head the War Plans Division, eventually giving him command of all US forces in the European theater. It is possible that Ike had been shuffled around in so many different postings in the 2 years leading to US entry into the war because his performance in various roles was being carefully watched. Apparently, Marshall had decided that Ike was most valuable for his ability to plan, organize, and facilitate the execution of effective military policy and maneuvers. As Secretary of War, Marshall could not afford to promote men.
I would have done something, but I had nowhere to run. I just made a play on him. I just made a play. I had nowhere to run. I just made the play. I'm sorry. I had no cover. I couldn't have ran towards you. I would have died. So I just did 200 damage like I should have.
And independently in the moment when necessary. With his 2+ decades of experience, Eisenhower fitted the bill perfectly. Yet he now had a greater task before him than he had ever faced, and with little notion of just how great his challenges would be by the last months of the European theatre. Eisenhower departed for London in June of 1942. Ike arrived in England with his work cut out for him. Not only nationalistic rivalry, but also unease and distrust clouded the interactions between the Allied military and political leaders. This made planning and cooperation challenging. But communicating effectively with prickly personalities and encouraging many conflicting elements to work together was Eisenhower's strong suit. He was given command of the Allied invasion of North Africa, launched in November of 1942. Accompanying Ike to North Africa was a pretty 33-year-old Irish divorcee named Kay Summersby. She had been assigned to Eisenhower as a driver after his arrival in London, and she remained with him as his personal secretary for the duration of the war. The nature of the relationship between Eisenhower and Summersby has been the subject of much historical controversy and debate. Away from the front, World War II was a very flirtatious time, and numerous members of the American military, both young privates and great generals, formed romantic relationships with British women. Ike and Kay clearly liked each other a great deal, but the exact nature of their relationship has never been fully clarified. Rumors abounded that they were having an affair, and that Eisenhower would seek a divorce. However, Ike gave no sign of any such thing in the more than 300 letters he wrote to his wife Mamie while he was overseas. After Eisenhower's death, Kay published a memoir in which it was claimed that, while there was a romance between them, they had never slept together. Whatever the truth of their relationship, Ike cut ties with Kay when the war was over, returning home to his wife and son. Eisenhower's first major challenge in the Second World War was the North African theatre, and while the operation was ultimately a success, it was also plagued by missed opportunities, logistics problems, and painful mistakes. Ike ruefully observed that students at the General Staff College in Washington would be criticizing American performance in North Africa for decades to come. However, the general learned important lessons during the campaign, which he would carry forward with him through subsequent challenges. Operation Torch was the largest amphibious invasion in military history up until that time, and pitted General Eisenhower against the Desert Fox, General Erwin Rommel. Rommel's forces had been struggling against the British 8th Army, led by General Montgomery, in the Western Desert Campaign. The Allies took 3 key ports on the northwest coast, Oran, Casablanca, and Algiers, before proceeding east toward Tunisia. The 8th Army, in turn, marched west, and by May 1943, the Tunisian campaign ended with the surrender of the Axis forces. Most were of the opinion that the North African theatre of operations had continued for much longer than it should have. Eisenhower had been too cautious to proceed on multiple occasions, and had not dealt decisively enough with personnel issues or supply problems. Although the Allies took over 250,000 German prisoners of war and were left in command of the field, Rommel and the bulk of his German forces had escaped. Eisenhower would confront the Desert Fox again, next time on the Western Front. One of Ike's greatest strengths was his ability to learn from his mistakes. Going forward, he resolved to act more decisively, and to fine-tune all logistical and personnel relationships. He got tougher on himself, as well as on the men serving under him, who nonetheless thought highly of him. Ike was not the inspirational sort of general. Many of the most admired generals were highly charismatic, temperamental men who inspired gut-level loyalty for their abilities, but often had near intolerable personalities and diva-like attitudes. Eisenhower had famously had to interfere in a disciplinary scandal to keep the near indispensable Patton from a court-martial after the abrasive general, disgusted at their shows of emotion, had physically assaulted 2 shell-shocked soldiers. Ike was not a fiery, charismatic sort, but he was admired for being plain-spoken, respectful, compassionate, and a conciliator who never tried to dodge responsibility when the failure was his. His troops may not have viewed him in the same worshipful light as generals like Patton or Montgomery, but they knew that General Eisenhower cared about them. The kind of diva squabbling, which Eisenhower notably avoided as a general, actually impeded the progress of Operation Husky, when Patton and Montgomery seemed more interested in competing with one another in an absurdly nationalistic display during the invasion of Sicily, rather than cooperating in a swift takeover of the island so that they could press the Allied advantage. Their respective armies competed in a race to take Messina. Meanwhile, the Axis powers managed to evacuate 100,000 men, 10,000 vehicles, and 17,000 tons of supplies with which to reinforce and defend the Italian mainland. The Allies would thus quite literally face an uphill battle, all the way up the Italian boot, to secure victory. In fact, the fascists in Italy held out even after the fall of Berlin in 1945, as the war was coming to an end. In December 1943, President Franklin Roosevelt selected Eisenhower to plan and orchestrate the invasion of Western Europe, codenamed Operation Overlord. This invasion was launched on the 6th of June 1945 on the Normandy coast of France, on what has become known popularly as D-Day. For most historians and general admirers of Eisenhower, this was his magnum opus, his greatest achievement. Knowing that 60 German divisions, commanded by his old foe Rommel, were waiting for him, Eisenhower assiduously planned and organized these last stages of the war's long struggle, trying to provide for every eventuality and implementing lessons he had learned about collaboration, delegation, strategy, logistics, and maneuvers during his 30-year military career.
And now from our sponsor, Call of War, the cross-platform, real-time grand strategy game in which you choose a real country to lead during World War II. Simply click the Call of War link in the video description to start playing today. Take command of your own nation, build up your resources, and equip your army ready to fight up to 100 other players. Expand and defend your country over weeks of multiplayer gameplay using historic maps and varying scenarios, moving in real time over different terrains. Develop your secret weapons to control the battlefield and become a war hero in the process. Defend your country by building alliances, choose your own strategy, and perfect your own technological strategy to win the war. You get an exclusive gift. Click on the link in the description to get 13,000 gold and 1 month of premium subscription for free. Offer only available for 30 days. Don't lose time. Play this sensational strategy game of life and death on the battlefield. Try out Call of War for free now.
The Germans knew that the Allies would attack Western Europe via the English Channel, but they did not know exactly where or when the attack would come. Having learned the importance of preserving the element of surprise from the North African and Italian campaigns, Eisenhower determined to cripple Axis supply lines in a preliminary bombing campaign before invading France. To keep the Germans guessing as to his real strategy, Eisenhower planned 2 other fake invasions at alternate locations on the French coast to keep the Germans away from the site where the Allies planned to strike. These mock invasions even featured inflatable tanks and parachuting dummies, which kept the far-flung German divisions along the Atlantic Wall confused for weeks after the initial landings, while the Allied invasion continued. The deception campaign was truly elaborate. The Allies airdropped thin strips of metal to interfere with German radar communications. They created fake radio and code traffic which they allowed the enemy to intercept. And they sent in double agents to pose as Axis spies who fed the enemy erroneous intelligence about Allied plans and movements. Still the largest amphibious invasion in military history, the D-Day landings involved 156,000 Allied troops from the British, American and Canadian forces, who established a beachhead around 10 miles deep into occupied territory. Here, Eisenhower gave Patton and his troops free rein to promptly and furiously begin to break through the German lines. In a matter of weeks, the Allies had landed 2 million more troops, tens of thousands of vehicles, and untold amounts of supplies. The westward push across Europe began. Eisenhower now had no reticence about proceeding, both decisively and aggressively, for the Germans would make one last stand, one that threatened to potentially tip the scales back in their favour, long enough for them to regroup. The Battle of the Bulge. By the fall of 1944, Hitler had quite clearly and correctly anticipated that Germany would soon be overrun and occupied. The Soviets were closing in from the east, and the rest of the Allied forces were advancing on Germany from the west, in an attempt to deal the Allies a blow deadly enough to forestall the Western invasion. The Germans launched a last, desperate counteroffensive in the Ardennes region of North...
God damn, you're boring.
The world is a scary place right now. We got the local government watching us, we got foreign governments watching us, we got hackers stealing our identities, and our wives looking at our search history. How's a man supposed to watch hentai in peace with all these people jacking into his webcam to spy on him? Then you go to your local coffee shop to pretend to write a novel in public like any hipster over the age of 30 would, hoping and praying that someone will sit next to you and ask you what you're doing so you can respond with a practice speech about writing a YA novel about a teen girl who falls in love with Frankenstein, except Frankenstein is like, super hot. And while you're on that public Wi-Fi, some asshat is installing CrowdStrike software on your computer, and now you keep seeing the blue screen of death. Maybe you're an international spy, and you got all these stolen secrets that you're supposed to get back to your country this instant, but you know that your ISP is keeping tabs on you. Or maybe you're the type of guy who doesn't buy condoms because they're too expensive, and you're more of a gambling man, and you want Surfshark VPN. With Surfshark, you can feel free to transmit drone strike locations, names of foreign assets, or just watch a movie that's not available in your region without the prying eyes of the global surveillance system watching what you're watching. And you can do all that without breaking the bank. How? Because with a VPN, you connect to one of 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, and all your traffic is encrypted. So even if someone was spying on you, which they are, they wouldn't know what the hell they're looking at. Maybe you like getting stuff for free. Then enter the code STRAT for an extra 4 months on the house for free at surfshark.deal/strat. That's surfshark.deal/strat. And while you're at it, thank them for the sponsor, because without them, I'd be sitting outside your coffee shop begging for nickels. So, do yourself a favor. Don't roll dice with your privacy. Get Surfshark for 4 free months with the code STRAT. I had a friend back in the day who was obsessed with Morrowind. See, I had just gotten back recently from the military, and the Afghanistan war was popping off, and I was sitting around the house, sweating my ass off, worried about getting deployed. He come over every now and then and let me burn copies of his games because he had a job and I didn't. Now, he preached the gospel of Morrowind, but at that age, I just didn't get it. The story was rich, the lore was deep, and the world building was complex and actually came up in gameplay, but I missed all that because I just didn't see what other people were seeing. I didn't get the hype. The gameplay was actually deeper than most people are still willing to give it credit for. The combat better than people were willing to admit because, for a time, it was trendy to hate it, and still, I didn't get it. Because it's not what I was used to and not what I expected out of a first-person game. It subverted my expectations, and I didn't care for that at all. I wanted a first-person, action-oriented game with point-and-click combat, and what I got was stat-based RPG combat. I wanted a game that had dialogue, and what I got was what amounted to wiki entries and info dumps that were spoken verbatim by every NPC no matter who you were talking to. I wondered why they even bothered having NPCs at all if none of them had personalities. I didn't get it, and honestly, I wouldn't say I was wrong for feeling that way. I've had people on more than one occasion say that they wanted to like Morrowind, but they just don't see what other people see in it. And listen, I get that. Tastes differ, and sometimes they evolve, and over the span of a couple of years and new subsequent characters and mod configurations, I grew fond of this game. I began to like it for all of its blemishes. Some would even say I started to like it in spite of its flaws, or because of its flaws, because over time, I no longer thought the combat was flawed, or the dialogue was bad, or the story simplistic. There was a beauty in that game that I didn't immediately appreciate until I was a little older and had a bit more time for the game to grow on me. Then we fast forward a bit. I had just moved out to Artesian Atlantic, also known as the LBC, Compton, just across the street from Jordan High School. Now, I was desperate for work and had just taken a job in Pasadena running a website and sales business through eBay. The year was 2006, and it was some day in March, the day that Oblivion came out. I was in line at GameStop or Electronic Boutique, I don't remember which. I'm old, leave me alone. And I picked up the special edition copy of the game with the map and the fold out and the special disc that apparently had some stuff on it that I never watched because what am I, a nerd? And I read the back of that box probably 20 times because despite, at this point, actually liking Morrowind, I was excited to play a first-person RPG with real-time combat without dice rolls. And the graphics, boy, at the time, we thought these graphics were like, you know, whoa, you know? There's like trees and grass and bloom, lots of bloom. I don't know what's up with those faces, but look at those trees. So anyway, I get home, I installed the game, updated my drivers, booted it up for the first time, and in 3 days, I beat the game and never played it again, or even thought about playing the game again. In fact, I didn't know what happened to the case with the discs in them. It just disappeared after I moved and I never even noticed. The game was a complete afterthought because frankly, I was disappointed in it. It was a sequel to Morrowind, but it had been boiled down to its basic elements. The dialogue was improved, sure, but in that improvement, the characters still didn't seem to have personality. The dialogue was pretty basic, and what was lost because of this was all that richness of world building that I was used to. But I didn't care, which goes to show you just how much that dialogue actually mattered to me. It turns out that it actually wasn't all that important at all. The enemies were spongy and not fun to fight. They leveled with you, so you never felt like you were getting stronger. Unlike with Morrowind, it felt like you had to maximize every level up or you'd fall behind the power curve. If you turned the difficulty up, you were going to be spending an entire weekend to kill a single wolf, and if you turn
the entire weekend, yeah, he's right about that. Yeah, the bullet sponge in one shot, yeah.
down, it was far too easy. When I finally beat that game, I didn't feel like I accomplished anything. I honestly felt like I survived something, and therefore, I just kind of forgot about the game. But in the back of my head, I always had this thought that perhaps I hadn't given this game a fair shake. I mean, even after playing...
It's fun to play this. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm going to continue to do this.
playing it for the how-to video, I was kind of glad that I was done, and every time I would get an urge to install the game, I would just remind myself about the level scaling, and I would pause the install and close Steam and not think about it again until my YouTube revenue started to get low, and I would consider doing another video for the algorithm. Now I have a confession to make. Now this video started out as something completely different. It started out as a challenge video, more in line with the Elden Ring video. I just did recently that no one watched because who does an Elden Ring challenge video about the base game when the DLC is out and no one cares anymore? So because I'm essentially the YouTube equivalent of a man on fire rolling on an oil-slicked asphalt in an attempt to staunch the flames, and after 7 years of this crap I still don't know what the hell I'm doing, I thought, well, that last video didn't do well, why don't I do another one? So I installed Oblivion, and for the first time in years I didn't stop the download and plan a different video because I was convinced that doing a max difficulty run of Oblivion was the right thing to do. At worst, I'd get to show a compilation of suffering. At best, I'd figure out some cool new ways to exploit the game's systems and maybe have a little fun while creating a little YouTube magic to pay the bills. I wasn't expecting or ready for what I ended up experiencing. I started this playthrough with a plan. I had a list of all the things that I was going to do because at first I was going to call the video Oblivion on max difficulty, but I can only cheese. Basically, it was going to be a video where I used every single exploit in the game to beat what I considered at the moment to be a fairly unfair experience. See, at first blush, it seems unreasonable to expect the player to fight a wolf for however long this took, let alone a human enemy, or pretty much any enemy at higher levels. On the easiest difficulty in Oblivion, the player does 6 times more damage than the enemy does to them. On normal difficulty, it's a 1-to-1. This is the true definition of a normal experience. They do a flat amount of damage to you, but on the hardest difficulty, it gets crazy because the enemy does 6 times more damage to you and you do 1/6 of the damage you normally do to them. So, you know how like on the easiest difficulty you're just running through dungeons, two-shotting enemies and standing there tanking their hits while they break their weapons trying to kill you? Well, on the hardest difficulty, it's the other way around. You are not the main character, they are. I knew this going into the game, so I tried to prepare myself for this by having a list of every exploit and glitch that the game had to offer to give me an advantage. But something happened during the early moments of the playthrough. See, my ego kicked in, and I started having crazy thoughts, like, what if I could just do this all straight up without any exploits? I started the game with character creation, got myself a handsome young monkey man, and started by walking against the wall for a couple of minutes to level up my athletics. But as I thought about it, it became clear to me that if I level up my skills in a tutorial section, it'll be that much harder to level up speed to 100. My intention was to level up athletics, acrobatics, and sneak to 100 in the tutorial level, because you could totally do that. But I didn't do that because I needed to maximize my leveling so I could get the most out of my ability scores. So I decided to play it fair, and I immediately found out why so many people cheese this difficulty in the first place. It started with me hiding in the back from the attacks of cultists who were trying to get to the Emperor, and every now and then I'd get brave and try to get a hit in, but would immediately back away the moment I got a hit in and figured out that I did no damage. Then we come to the first mandatory combat sequence where rats, you know, the things about the size of a cat, break down a brick friggin' wall and start handing my ass to me like it were a tasty hamburger. I was forced to retreat to a ledge and cheese them with fireballs. Luckily, those actually do damage. But that was the end of my good luck, because I died to the rats over and over again. It's difficult to aim that slow-moving projectile at a distance that's safe enough to not get hit, because these rats are an absolute menace. If they did more damage, they'd be nearly as strong as a clanfear, because these things can jump real far. And not only do they jump attack far, but the jump actually increases their movement speed. So if you're running away from them, no you're not, and to top it all off, they can spam it. It was a doo-doo situation. I was gonna have to be eating every bite because there was no avoiding this fight. The rats were gonna have a taste of my ass, and I was just gonna have to find a way to deal with it. I did eventually figure out how to avoid their attacks, and eventually I was able to move on, but then a terrible thought arose inside of me. I still had to fight the goblins. If the rats were kicking my ass, what were those guys gonna do? It was at this point that I knew that I was in for a lot of pain. These were just the opening few minutes of the game, and I was having to hit these enemies several times with fireballs. So many times, in fact, that I'd run out of magicka before they were even down to half their health. If I was going to have any chance at beating this game, I was going to need to come up with a plan, because everything that people had told me about this mode was that it was unbalanced, unfair, and it was like Bethesda didn't even care about making it fun. Now, I knew a lot of exploits in this game, everything from the constant effect glitch, duplication glitch, and so on, but I wanted to see if I could beat this game on its own terms, without depending on too many glitches or exploits. Then it came time to pick my skills and head out into the world outside, but before I could do that, I needed to figure out how to survive the rest of these encounters, and there were quite a few of them where multiple enemies would surround me and punish me until I saw that load screen. But I remembered that one of my main skills was illusion, and I had access to the calm spell. If you don't know what that does, it takes an enemy, like a rat, from someone that wants to chew his way through your rectum into a docile little creature for a couple of seconds, giving you enough time to back up and riddle him with fireballs. In fact, when I thought about it, I could just use this spell and run off without having to fight anyone if I really wanted to. And that's when I realized that the hardest difficulty wasn't all that difficult if you took full advantage of the ridiculous skills the game gives you. You could charm the enemy, sure, but you could also cast Chameleon and sneak past every enemy. You could stack reflect damage until you had 100% reflect and become not only immune to melee damage, but send that damage back at the attacker. And since they hit 6 times harder, it means they could basically one-shot themselves. You could make a spell that gave you 85 armor, 100 magic resist, and a passive heal, and just walk through levels while enemies tried in vain to kill you. You could even create a fatigue damaging spell that lasted for minutes, and while the enemy was on the ground, pelt them with artillery. Magic gives you every tool you need to win, so it wasn't an uncertainty that I was going to beat the game, it was a foregone conclusion. But what method I chose to beat the game, that was the big question. So I thought about it. What would I need to do to ensure that I had an advantage over the enemy that they couldn't overcome without doing something lame that would negate the fun that I was having overcoming these challenges? And that's when it hit me. If I stayed low level, the enemies wouldn't be able to scale up. I'd stay low level, sure, but so would they. But unlike the enemy, I could still level my skills and get access to more and more powerful magics. In fact, if I leveled Conjuration to 100, theoretically I could cast high-level summons that the enemy couldn't hope to handle in a fight. But in order to do that, I was going to need a source of magicka.
What was that? He came into the room and shot me twice before I could even figure out where he was.
A whole lot of other
fucking
work
crackheads, put them in their own league.
What I needed to
What's
do
wrong
was
with you,
cast
EvE? Get these crackheads with each other. Let them fucking delete each other. Get them away from me.
I needed a high-level destruction spell that could breach its defenses enough to kill it in time before the soul trap wore off or the creature desummoned. And in order to trap the soul, I needed a soul gem. And to get a soul gem, I needed money. But before I could do any of this, I needed access to spell creation. And to get that, I was gonna need to do
I like Oblivion. I want to do Oblivion on very hard. I think that'd be sweet. I'm not getting up here, bitch. I don't want to fight these crackheads anymore. I don't want to fight them. They're fucking crackheads. Leave me alone. Get them out of the league with me. I don't play this game but once a month. Keep me away from these fucking people. Keep me away. I gotta get away from them. I'm terribly sorry. Their press W piece of shit fucking idiocy is so fucking clearly obvious. It's sick.
Quests, and that meant going out into the big scary world where death was inevitable. Now that I had a big laundry list of crap to do, I got to work. The quest to become a member
I have
of the Mages Guild is probably...
You know, I forgot, but I have Overwatch. I think everything's all set up and everything too. Which is good. I'll just hop to Overwatch. I haven't done that in like a year. That'll be fun. I'll suck dick at Overwatch for a while.
The easiest to do for a character with no money, no skills, and no ability to murder, because it's mostly a bunch of fetch quests, save for a few standout quests.
Yeah, I like high difficulty. It actually really changes things. It does. Oh, you played in video or whatever? Yeah, you played in full screen. Did you play in full screen? You did. Don't play in full screen. I want to play some Moira. Moira will be very fun. Play some quick play, because who cares about that? I have a black screen. Come on. Like, what's wrong with you? Fix your fucking client, piece of shit fucking entity. Let's go. Yep, you. Fix it. Go. Yes, go. Go. Fire it up. Your piece of shit clients are stuttering the screen and taking forever. I don't like you. Hurry up. Oh god, you're in full screen. Dear god, why? I have never put a Blizzard client in full screen.
On this week's episode.
Don't care. Bye. Sorry, don't care. Options. Oh god, why does everything sound all weird? Where are my settings? Do you have my settings? You better have my fucking settings. No, down, down. Yeah, all the rest of that. No, no, down to like 50 or something. Yeah, like 50. Playback device, yes. Oh god, did you change my settings? If you did, I'll fucking kill you. No, my settings are good. No, my settings are good. So, automatic, disabled, triple buffering, yes, I want triple buffering, and I want you to reduce buffering too. And VSync to on plus boost, automatic frame rate. Yeah, I want custom, please. No, I want 120. And render scale, that's fine. We can set the render scale for a while. The rest of it, I think, is all fine on whatever you have it on. No, I want NVIDIA DLSS super resolution, all that stuff. And then details, yeah, all the rest of it's fine. Apply, please, and then get out, play. I have to go pee, and then I'm gonna queue for quick play because it'll probably take a second. No, it's less than 1 minute. It's less than 1 minute. So, yeah, probably by the time I pee and get back, I'll be in. I'll be right back. Okay, we're in. Oh, you took my character, you son of a bitch. No. Alright, fine. I'm going to play Brig then. If you want to be like that, I'll be like Brig. Fuck you, I'll be Brig if you want to take my character then. Oh, God, what's with the stutter? Stop. Oh, God, what's with that? Stop that. I thought I fixed it. No, that's terrible. Fix it. No, terrible. Nope, terrible. Video, full screen, borderless full screen, apply. Yep, and I'm Brig, and I'm late, but I'm here, motherfucker, I'm here. Wow, it looks really good on my new card. Looks good. Oh God, it's been a long time since I played this. I dueled with the Moira for a little while. How did they get it back? We had it for a while. You guys left me alone to fight this entire team by myself. You fucking suck. Me and the Moira fought the entire team by myself. Where are you guys? Just stop jacking off. Get on the tank. Oh God. I gotta get there. Ooh. Gotta save the Moira. Oh my God, get on the point. I was alone and I got sniped underneath the rim. How did you get this? No, that's not how I died. You shot somebody way up top and you gave the kill to me. What was that? Oh God, you gave the kill that somebody else got to me. I was fine. I was not in the Widow's range. You seem like you're tripping. I might not be able to play your game. Are you tripping now? man. You're in the wrong game. You're in the wrong. Yep. Cool.
Of you tracking down a murderer to do a murder on them. And the cool thing about this mission is that it sends you to every mage's guild in the game, which means you'll be making money because you could basically steal everything that isn't nailed down and sell it. And while making money, you can buy all the spells you need from vendors. You're killing a whole bunch of birds with one big massive boulder, essentially. So it's the best place to start. Once I became a member, I got access to the mage's guild in the capital city. And it's there that we can enchant and make new spells, but I needed money, and I was completely broke, so I figured the best way to make money would be to grab some food from the local merchants and mix them together to make potions, then sell the potions to the merchants, rinse and repeat. But if I did that, I'd level up too fast because alchemy was one of my main skills, so I needed another way to make money. I knew of 2 different ways to make a bunch of cash easily. If I could get a stamp summon, I could do the Black Bow Bandits quest and kill them, take their bows, and sell them to the count for 100 gold each. The bandits respawn, so I could technically farm them infinitely, but there might be an easier way. At Fort Farragut inside Lucien Lachance's barrel is 10 poison apples, which sell for 300 gold each. They respawn every 3 days and weigh almost nothing, so they can be easily farmed. So that's what I needed to do, I reasoned. So I went to the fort, killed some skeletons that dropped a ton of arrows, which I would need later, and picked the lock on the barrel. Once I had the apples, I went to the West Weald Inn at Skingrad and headed into the basement to talk to a high elf hanging out down there. He'll buy our poison apples for 161 gold, and here's the thing. The higher your mercantile skill, the more he'll pay for them. But how was I going to level mercantile from 19 to 100? Well, how does anything in this game happen? Through hard work, or by sticking something between your casting key and walking away for a couple hours. I went over to the blacksmith and I sold him my stack of hundreds of arrows, but I sold them 1 arrow at a time. This took forever, and you might be wondering why the hell you would do this to yourself, Strat.
Is this not why you are here? Are you not entertained?
Because each time you sell an item, you gain some experience in mercantile. But regardless of whether you sell 1 item or a stack of items, you still only get EXP once. So the best way to level mercantile is to sell each arrow in a stack 1 at a time. And when you sold the entire stack, buy those arrows back and do it all over again until your mercantile skill and your persuasion is maxed. If you do this, Cinderis and Skingrad will buy your apples for around 2,700 a stack. After you sell the apples, you'll rest for 3 days and head back to the barrel to get more apples.
My God,
and
do
in no
something.
time, you'll have thousands of gold to spend on soul gems, spells, and non-magical gear to enchant. But I have a neat little trick that someone on my Twitter told me about. What's better than a set of magic Daedric armor? A set of magic Daedric armor that weighs nothing. What you do is you buy all of the bound armor spells that you can get. You cast bound armor on yourself, then cast a summon and let it beat up on you a little bit. Once the armor is taking damage and its health is below 100, use your repair hammer and repair the armor. Then, for whatever reason, you'll be able to drop that armor on the ground. If you wait until the summon spell wears off, the armor will still be laying on the ground, and if you pick it up, you'll have a free
Are you
set of
talking
Daedric armor
about?
that
I
weighs
had cover!
The only problem is
it was
that
a
it breaks
dynamite?
very
Okay,
easily,
dynamite
so
makes
you'll be
sense, yeah.
repairing it a lot. That's why you need armor, so you can repair magical equipment. Then I proceeded to summon low-level enemies to fill up my grand soul gems that I bought in the Imperial City Market. Once I had enough to enchant a set of armor, rings, and a necklace, I enchanted that gear with Fortify Magicka. Doing this, I was able to get almost 100 extra Magicka, which allowed me to cast even more powerful summons and destruction spells, which in turn allowed me to trap even stronger souls, which could be turned into even better gear. But I was able to do enough damage to the summons in order to trap them quick enough before they desummoned. I thought about it for a little while, and I found myself creating a sort of matrix in my head. At the top row were tasks I needed to do, and just below them were things those tasks would allow me to do. I needed better souls to make better gear, so I could get more magicka to cast better spells. But I needed more magicka first to cast better spells to get better souls. That's when it clicked. What if I fortified my magicka with a custom spell and used that extra magicka to cast my more damaging destruction spells? I tried it out, but quickly found out that it just wasn't enough. I needed a ton more damage to kill these things, not only before they desummon, but also before they killed me, which they could do in one hit. So I created a spell that gave me extra magicka and extra intelligence, but again, this wasn't enough. I remembered that spell effects can stack so long as you name the spell something different, so I created 2 fortification spells that gave me about 500 extra magicka for 30 seconds, and this opened up all kinds of different options. Not only was I nuking the summons, but I also realized that I could fortify myself a bunch of times and cast a spell that would give me a max armor rating, maximum magic resist, and fortify a bunch of skills and stats to ridiculous degrees, like running across the map in seconds, jumping across the map like in Morrowind, or just one-shotting enemies with a ridiculous amount of strength stacked up.
Yeah, like you think that's what an RPG is? You thought it was all just like, you know, you hearing a story, didn't you? Where am I? This seems weird. What's going on, buddy? Leave this game, whatever you're in. What do you mean I can't leave this match? What are you talking about? No, I want you everyone's cute if you leave the match. What do you mean? I can't move. I can't do anything. Take me out. I cannot move. I cannot do anything. Take me out. Yes, yeah, just take me out. What the fuck was this? Take me out. You fucked up, Blizzard. That was you. Yeah, it's disruptive to me. It's disruptive to me. It's disruptive to me.
The possibilities seemed endless, and some might call that an exploit, but I call it glorious, because it was at that moment that I realized that Oblivion's difficulty is not broken. It's perfect.
No, it's perfect. Yep.
It is not the weakest entry in the series, and it was not my least favorite. Oblivion had fortified its acrobatics and leapfrogged over Morrowind, stole my heart, and became one of my favorite games in that moment, and this is why.
Yep.
Oblivion sets you up as a guy. Just a guy. A prisoner, in fact. Who knows why you're there? That's for you to decide. The only thing you know is that you're unskilled and there's nothing special about you other than the fact that some old man has fantasies about you. So you're an Instagram model. As you get stronger, so too does the enemy, because like I said, you're not the second coming of a prophesized hero of legend. You're just a guy who got swept up into events that are bigger than him, who has to rise to the occasion to overcome what should be insurmountable odds. Think about what you do in this game. You break into hell and steal the devil's artifacts while bitch slapping his minions. That's not something you should be able to do easily. So the difficulty actually makes sense because you don't have any godly powers. You're just a dude. So you've got to find a way to overcome those odds with the tools at your disposal. This is no different than any other game, really. You can play max level difficulty in just about any game, and unless you know what to do, you're gonna have a bad time. But how do you, as a player, figure out the best combinations of skills and powers to help you overcome those odds?
I would like to play Oblivion on extremely high difficulty as a melee. It would be fun as hell, and just start like thwack, 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 thwack.
Up and up.
I know what it is. I've done it before. It's like Fallout 76. It's stupid. You shell up, you take all your fucking defensives, you inflate your health bar, and you just start swacking.
Of a fight to make it worth your time. I mean, you have to admit, if a game is easy and you're beating it up just fine using one skill, why would you change that plan midstream and learn another way to do things unless you had no choice? That's where the developers step in with a solution. Bethesda set up a situation in this game where continuing to do the same thing you did on normal difficulty just wasn't gonna fly here, because the enemies are far stronger than you you, and you just don't do the kind of damage that they can do. Essentially, it's like this. You know how in these games you'll see a guard run after an enemy bravely, only to get killed before they can even get a hit in? That's you. You're the guard. And a lot of people didn't like this because they don't want to be disempowered in a video game, especially an action RPG like this one, that previously pandered to a power fantasy. In Elden Ring, Morrowind, all you had to do was play the game long enough, and eventually you became an unstoppable juggernaut. It was an inevitability because of who your character is in the story. You are a powerful folk hero, a legend. So, the power fantasy was necessary. But in Oblivion, you're just a prisoner, so you have to earn your power fantasy. It's not just given to you. If you play on the normal difficulty, you may never reach that godhood because you don't need to. The normal and easy difficulty sort of lulls you into complacency and allows you to just continue using the same tactics from the beginning of the game to the end. But the hardest difficulty makes you stop and think. I'm about to level up. That means the enemies will get stronger. So I'm going to need a fire spell that does more damage. But you know what? I'm already maxed out. Okay, well, how about if I combine the fire damage with a weakness to fire spell? And then later, when you get even higher level, you stack those effects, making even higher level enemies melt. But then you get to a point where you're running out of magicka too quickly. But if you use a shock spell, not only do you get the same amount of damage as your fire spell, but it's also cheaper to cast, and leaves you with even more headroom to do more damage. Every step of the way provides you with a new challenge and forces you out of your comfort zone and into a headspace where you're constantly thinking of ways to overcome those challenges in a way that creates less friction for yourself or squeezes every last bit of power out of whatever skill you're using. Min-maxing, essentially. And that, my friends, is how a developer forces a player to use their creativity, because problem solving is the essence of creativity. For example, in this playthrough, I butted up against a problem. See, staying at level 5 and maxing conjuration made the game way too easy, and I wasn't playing the game the way it was intended to be played, so I had another problem I needed to solve. Can I level up at a normal pace and still keep up with the enemy's level scaling? It required me to theory craft spell combos and crunch numbers to get every single drop of damage out of a spell for the lowest magicka cost possible. And what amazed me was, yes, I could do this. I want to do X, but I only have Y. How do I get Z to overcome X? You have a path that continues the game, but there's a roadblock in the way. Depending on the kind of game, there could be one way around that roadblock, say a red key for a red door in a game like Doom, or several ways around that obstacle, like an item, clever use of a skill, or combining objects in the level to create a way through the environment. I need to get Y, but X is in the way. How many Z's can I put in this level that'll help the player achieve those goals? So for instance, if you were to have more than one red key in a game like Doom, what you'd essentially be doing is giving the player a choice. Do I take this path to get to my goal, or do I take this path to get to my goal? That turns the game from linear to more open. So the more options you give a player to accomplish whatever goal they're trying to accomplish, the more open your game feels, to the point where at some point, the more options you have, the more like a sandbox your game starts to feel. Those questions are what force a player to use creativity to overcome those roadblocks, and it's what the game does better than almost any other Elder Scrolls game, because it sets you up with odds that seem impossible, only to give you tools that you need to achieve your goals, forcing you not only to be creative, but to experiment with new ideas to figure out new solutions you may have never tried otherwise. But like I said before, you have to want to change. You have to want to get out of your comfort zone to experience it, and sadly, that's a rare virtue. So, be a rarity, my friend. And this has been a rant from Strategy, and now that you heard it, let's go play some games.
Oh, they finally got me.
Disclaimer. This video contains spoilers for the original Halo trilogy. There are time codes in the description if you want to jump around. We all good? Fantastic. Now let's start this fun. The year is 1998, and video game developer Bungie is in a bit of a bind. Founded by Alex Seropian and Jason Jones in 1991, Bungie made their mark across the decade with 3 first-person shooter games for the Mac. Marathon, Marathon 2 Durandal, and Marathon Infinity. But after growing fatigued with the
the Halo trilogy, yeah, Marathon sucked, and so did Halo. Or we would still be playing it. Yeah, I already watched this one.
You might have heard about Project 2025. It's the handmaiden-esque conservative plan to reshape the federal government under the next presidential administration. It was created by the conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, and has deep connections to the Trump administration. But of course, it's so sweeping and draconian that even Donald Trump has had to try to attempt to distance himself from it. It's 900 pages of crazy pants insanity. And while Trump has said he doesn't know anything about it, it could form the backbone of his next presidency. Honestly, there was only one person who could do justice to the rage-inducing, sweeping legal and governmental changes that Project 2025 is seeking to implement: chaos lawyer Liz Dye.
Thanks, Devin. I've spent the past couple weeks poring over this manifesto, and I think I've got a pretty good handle on it. These guys really, really hate immigrants and pronouns, and they love local control. Well, unless the locality wants to let women control their own bodies, or treat undocumented immigrants like human beings, or be nice to gay and trans kids. Also, they're really mad about porn. The introduction refers to 4 broad fronts that will decide America's future. Number 1, restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. Number 2, dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. Number 3, defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. Number 4, secure our God-given individual rights to live freely, what our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty. What makes these 4 pieces of the conservative promise so valuable to the next president is that they cut through superficial distractions and focus on the moral and foundational challenges America faces at this moment of history. And okay, who doesn't want to protect children, right? I mean, raise your hand if you hate freedom.
Bueller.
But as always, the devil is in the details. And you don't have to scroll very far to figure out what those details are. Because on the very next page, these guys tell you very clearly that they think America's problems could be solved if everyone would just get married and stay that way. Who's to blame for what ails us? Unmarried mothers, because there is no government program that can replace the hole in a child's soul cut out by the absence of a father. Fatherlessness is one of the principal sources of American poverty, crime, mental illness, teen suicide, substance abuse, rejection of the church, and high school dropouts. That's the bold claim, although they cite no source for it. Nor is it clear what role the government should play in ensuring that children stay in the church. And anyway, how is the government going to convince parents to stay married? They're going to cut food stamps, obviously, because if you could feed your children without a husband, then they're going to delete the terms sexual orientation and gender identity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, gender, gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitive, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights, and any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights from every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant regulation, and piece of legislation that exists. After that, they'll outlaw porn, and then they're going to ban abortion nationwide and deport 20 million undocumented people, and then we'll all live happily married ever after. Also, tax cuts for big business and oh, and they're going to
No! Why did you run from me, you fucking idiot? Get on the
guys,
point.
glove up. We're going
What the hell was that? You fucking idiot. Get out of the tunnel.
Reshape the entire country using the power of the federal government. It's got a chapter on how they plan to reform every major agency of the executive branch. And so it's a little weird that the document mentions abortion 199 times, because it's been illegal for the federal government to fund abortion since 1971, with exceptions for rape, incest, and to protect the life of the pregnant person. The Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in the Dobbs decision in 2022, theoretically returning the issue of abortion to the state. So how can abortion figure so prominently in a blueprint for federal policy? One of the main things these guys want to do is ban abortion nationwide. So the document contemplates all the ways that the federal government can use its power over education, insurance, labor regulation, and healthcare to ensure that no one can access abortion anywhere in America. And they want to wield foreign aid to try and make sure that no one in the rest of the world has access to abortion either. As with most of Project 2025, the chapter on their plans for the Department of Health and Human Services was written HHS with the Healthcare Access Task Force and installing a pro-life task force to ensure that all of the department's divisions seek to use their authority to promote the life and health of women and their unborn children. Additionally, HHS
Why are you on the
should return to
fucking
being
their
known as
point? Get
Department of
off
Life
their
by
point. Stay
explicitly
on the
rejecting the
node.
notion that abortion is healthcare.
Oh
Abortion
my
is a
God, you're
complicated
dumb.
issue. People of good faith can disagree, but the problem with Project 2025 is that it pretends the issue is not complicated. Even states like Texas, which ban abortion completely, have a provision in the law providing an exception to protect the life and health of the mother. Because in fact, some women will die or suffer grave health consequences if they cannot access abortion. Whether that provision in the law actually ensures access to care is another matter. Some pregnancies are the result of rape or incest, and most Americans think it should be legal for women to access abortion in those tragic circumstances. Project 2025 simply pretends all that away with ominous references to the global abortion industry, as if there was a company called Big Abortion that was advertising 2-for-1 deals on every platform to get you to come down to the abortion sites and hop into the stirrups for another round. Severino wants the CDC to fund studies into the risks and complications of abortion and ensure that it corrects and does not promote misinformation regarding the comparative health and psychological benefits of childbirth versus
How did you know where I was? Get wrecked, cheater.
And he plans to, quote, drive investigative review of literature for a variety of issues, including the effect of abortion on prematurity and breast cancer. But there is no link between abortion and breast cancer, and there's no link between abortion and depression. And that's not how science works. You don't start with your preferred policy position and then go and try and create studies to back it up. But Project 2025 isn't just waiting for evidence to come in before implementing its policy goal. They want to reverse the FDA authorization of Cristo, the most commonly used drug for medication abortion. They claim that it's effective and unsafe despite the fact that it was approved in America in 2000. It's been in use in France since the 80s. They want to ban...
Fuck! Kill the guy standing on you,
fucking which, okay, more on that. Project 2025 wants the federal government to discourage abortion tourism, by which they mean they intend to stop women in states which ban abortion from crossing state lines to get the care they need. They also want to block any federal money going to organizations like Planned Parenthood, which provides both abortion care and a whole array of other health services. So if you want to be screened for breast or cervical cancer at Planned Parenthood, well, you are just out of luck. And you know, if you don't want people to invoke the Handmaid's Tale when they're talking about your program, maybe don't use the words abortion surveillance and complain that the government isn't tracking abortions closely enough, and put in writing that you plan to force doctors to ask women why they're choosing to have an abortion, and then report the answer to the federal government. So if you have a period tracker on your phone, no you don't. It's not just abortion that these Project 2025 are so weird about. They have a lot of thoughts about birth control too. They want to ban the morning after pill, which they call a potential abortifacient. It is not. They want to ban medical schools from teaching new doctors how to safely perform an abortion, and they want to cut government funding for condoms from the Women's Health Initiative because they say that condoms have nothing to do with protecting women's health, which suggests a fundamental lack of understanding of human biology.
Can this same procedure then be done in pregnancy? Swallowing the camera and telling the doctor.
Oh my God.
It cannot be done in pregnancy simply because when you swallow a pill, it would not end up in the vagina.
Chasing me around.
Instead, they want the CDC to update its public messaging about the unsurpassed effectiveness of modern fertility awareness-based methods of family planning and stop publishing communications that conflate such methods with the long eclipsed rhythm or calendar methods. Fertility awareness-based methods involve tracking your menstrual cycle and abstaining from sex during ovulation when you're most likely to become pregnant. The rhythm method involves tracking your menstrual cycle and abstaining from sex during ovulation when you're most likely to become pregnant. Neither one of these provides any protection from sexually transmitted infections, and both have a roughly 20% failure rate over a year. Or as they used to say back in the day, you know what they call people who use the rhythm method? Parents. IUDs and even more than 98% effective at preventing pregnancy. But when Project 2025 talks about the unsurpassed effectiveness of so-called natural family planning, they're maybe leaving out one or two relevant data points. But at least it's legal to ship an ovulation monitor through the mail, because one of the ways Project 2025 contemplates reducing access to birth control and abortion is by reviving the Comstock Act, an 1873 statute that made it illegal to use the post office to send birth control pornography. It was named for Anthony Comstock, an anti-masturbation activist who claimed that books are feeders for brothels and burned tons of them. The law was immediately and successfully challenged on First Amendment grounds. But it remains on the books, and Project 2025 envisions using it to prevent the shipment of medication abortion drugs and anything else they consider an abortifacient, including many popular birth control devices and medicines.
Oh my God, please let me out.
Should the government
Please fucking kill her.
the spread of STIs? Well, Project 2025 has a plan for that too, and that plan is to encourage us all to get married. You know I'm serious. Their plan to stop gonorrhea is to focus on strengthening marriage and sexual risk avoidance. And although the Supreme Court legalized gay marriage in 2015, the Heritage Foundation guys do not mean happily married gay. They mean heterosexual couples because, quote, families comprised of a married mother, father, and their children are the foundation of a well-ordered nation and healthy society. And so, for the sake of child well-being, programs should affirm that children require and deserve both the love and nurturing of a mother and the play and protection of a father. In fact, it's not just gay marriage that's in the Project 2025 crosshairs. This is a plan to erase LGBTQ+ people from the public life. The authors of Project 2025 seem to think that most of the nation's problems could be solved if we could just get rid of gender identity, or what they call the unscientific notion that men can become women and vice versa. For instance, they'll, quote, restore standards of lethality and excellence to the U.S. military by kicking out everyone who is transgender or HIV positive. To de-wokify foreign aid, the government should remove all references, examples, definitions, photos, and language on USAID website, in agency publications and policies, and in all agency contracts and grants that include the following terms: gender, gender equality, gender equity, gender diverse individuals, gender aware, gender sensitive, etc. It should also remove references to abortion, reproductive health, and sexual and reproductive rights, and controversial sexual education materials. The solution to all the nation's ills, besides marriage, of course, is to roll back the Great Awakening by removing protections for transgender students, forcing schools to out kids to their parents, banning gender-affirming care for minors, and rolling back bans on discriminating against LGBTQ+ people at work and in public accommodations. They even want to revoke the National Education Organization's public charter because the nation's largest teachers union, quote, promotes radical racial and gender ideologies in schools. And how are they going to fix public education? Get rid of those pesky pronouns. This would apparently make it illegal for teachers to respect their students' request to be called by anything, quote, other than the name listed on a student's birth certificate without the written permission of a student's parents or guardians. This would apparently ban nicknames, but it's a small price to pay to win the war on woke. Sorry, Billy. Oops, William. And while they're at it, they want to make DEI illegal too. Yeah, because if it's not trans people ruining everything, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yep.
In fact, the Project 2025s are so spun up about what they call critical race theory that they want to conduct purges at organizations like the Treasury Department. This document proposes to identify any Treasury Department employee at any level who attended diversity training under the Biden or Obama administration and treat the participation in any critical race theory or DEI initiative without objecting on constitutional or moral grounds as per se grounds for termination of employment. And the Project 2025 guys don't just want to fire anybody in government who sat through a diversity workshop. They want the Justice Department to, quote, use the full force of federal prosecutorial resources to investigate and prosecute all state and local governments, institutions of higher education, corporations, and any other private employers who are engaged in discrimination in violation of constitutional and legal requirements, by which they mean they want to prosecute employers they believe are making too many diversity hires. And if that happens to have the chilling effect of discouraging companies from hiring people who are not white men, well, they're good with it.
Yeah, and if you're prosecuted under Project 2025's craziness, you'll probably want a good lawyer because the country has some serious issues. But if you want a great lawyer, my law firm, the Eagle Team, can help. If you've gotten in a car crash, suffered a data breach, especially if you got one of those letters saying that your social security number was leaked, or are dealing with a workers' comp or social security issue, we can represent you or help find you the right attorney. Because it's so important to talk to a lawyer right away so you get the best representation and find out what your options are. So just click on the link in the description or call the phone number that's on screen for a free consultation with my team. Because you don't just need a legal team, you need the Eagle Team. So click the link.
Let's take a break and talk about who exactly is behind Project 2025. Project 2025 is the brainchild of Kevin Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation, and Russ Vought, the former head of the Office of Management and Budget in the Trump White House. And to staff this thing up, they brought in Trump's former personnel chief, Johnny McEntee. Heritage is the OG conservative think tank founded during the Nixon administration to advocate for pro-business policies and against the global spread of communism. It's been highly influential essential in every Republican administration since Reagan, and during Democratic administrations dedicated itself to opposing everything from single-payer health care to student loan relief. Since the end of the Cold War, Heritage has increasingly thrown itself into culture war issues, particularly opposing abortion and gay rights. Kevin Roberts is a dedicated conservative stalwart who headed up the lobbying arm at Heritage before becoming its leader. He's praised Hungary's proto-fascist president Viktor Orban, who says that Hungarians do not want to become a mixed race, and Roberts is open that his organization's mission is institutionalizing Trumpism. So while Trump insists that he knows nothing about Project 2025, Roberts has been clear that he and Trump are part of the same movement, and he is laying out the agenda for the next Trump administration. Russ Vaught is a self-described Christian nationalist who serves as the current policy director of the Republican National Committee. In 2016, he wrote that Muslims do not simply have a deficient theology, they do not know God because they have rejected Jesus Christ, his son, and they stand condemned. He believes we're living in a post-constitutional moment, and the only solution is to massively centralize power in the office of the president, conscripting the entire federal bureaucracy as a tool to reorder society in accordance with conservative values. If you lived through the first Trump administration, you may remember it was something of a chaotic time, with the White House pumping out executive orders, banning all Muslims from entering the country, or kicking all transgender people out of the military, or announcing the immediate withdrawal of all troops from Afghanistan, or declaring an emergency and raiding military funds to build a border wall. Roberts and Vaught think that the problem wasn't that Trump's ideas were crazy or illegal, but that there were too many disloyal civil servants who refused to implement them.
But on the point of follow-up question, is there a policy solution or proposal in this book, which is going to be put out imminently, that you're most interested in?
Well, I think one that's gotten a lot of press is Schedule F. Schedule F was something that materialized at the end of the administration to be able to say that if you're working on policy for the president, you're an actual employee.
So this time around, they prepared Project 2025 as a blueprint so they can hit the ground running. And to make sure there's no deep state sabotage, they plan to distort alternative protections for career government employees who currently can't be fired for perceived disloyalty. Instead, much of the federal government will be staffed with political appointees who serve at the pleasure of the president. I mean, McEntee rose from being Trump's body man during the 2016 campaign to running the Presidential Personnel Office, which staffs the entire executive branch. During the final year of Trump's presidency, McEntee began administering loyalty tests at the various executive branch agencies and attempted to push out anyone who had expressed a negative opinion of Trump's policies. In conjunction with Project 2025, McEntee is assembling a presidential personnel database preparing to staff the next Trump administration with MAGA faithful. He also started a dating app called The Right Stuff, so that Trump supporters won't get their feelings hurt by all the swipe lefts on Tinder.
What are you looking for in a partner?
They just have to be a conservative. Definitely someone that wants to have kids. I like an independent female. Personally, I like the alpha male vibe.
Which is weird, because who would want to date a guy like this?
So I always keep this made in Hollywood money in my car. So when I home with her and ask for money, I'm getting $5 I feel about myself, they feel good. And then, when they go to use it, they get arrested. So I feel like helping them clean up the street.
Oh yeah, that's what they know. Okay. Now let's talk about what Project 2025 would do for education in this country, aside from banning pronouns. Maybe you're a little kid just trying to figure out how to drink your juice and play in the sandbox and recognize your ABCs. Project 2025 would eliminate Head Start, which subsidizes child care for 820,000 poor kids between the ages of 3 and 5. Or maybe you're a kid who relies on getting lunch and possibly breakfast at school. Project 2025 wants to cut way back on what it calls a federal catering program and axe meals in the summer for kids who aren't in summer school. Oh, you're a 4th grader who isn't enrolled in classes this summer? Yes, you could wait till September to eat. On the bright side, during the next administration, kids will be able to earn more pocket money by taking on dangerous jobs that are currently off limits to them. Project 2025 plans to repeal hazard order regulations which bar teenagers from risky jobs with tax reason in mind, because, quote, some young adults show an interest in inherently dangerous jobs.
People don't want children working anymore. In fact, they want them in school now, doing their most productive years, when their tiny fingers are too small enough to fit into the crevices of machinery.
Maybe you're applying to college and you need a student loan. Project 2025 aims to end federally subsidized student loans on the theory that the marketplace will do it more cheaply and efficiently. And if the government does make education, Project 2025 wants to treat those as an economic investment, which must be repaid in interest and principal rather than in investing in the education of the American population. They want to roll back all loan forgiveness and end loan abatements for borrowers who do socially valuable things with their degrees, like provide health care in underserved rural areas. How will they solve the rural healthcare crisis? Well, they'll reduce the regulatory burden. According to the Center for American Progress, a liberal think tank, borrowers would pay about $3,000 more a year under this plan. In fact, the Project 2025 guys think the Department of Education, which they call a convenient one-stop shop for the woke education cartel, should be abolished in its entirety. And speaking of stuff they'd like to kill, you can wave goodbye to your weather report. The chapter on the environmental inspection is written by Mandy Lindsay, who was chief of staff to President Trump. She previously served as House counsel to the late Senator James Info, who once waved a snowball around the floor of the Senate to prove that climate change wasn't real. Yep, that's her sitting right behind him. Gunasekara refers to the, quote, perceived threat of climate change and advocates rolling back pollution standards across the board. Elsewhere in the Project 2025 blueprint are plans to end all subsidies for energy, concentrate on producing food cheaply, whatever the cost to the environment, eliminate energy efficiency standards for appliances, roll back mileage standards for gas-powered cars, and more or less ban the entire federal government from taking climate change into account when crafting U.S. policy.
You just watch.
And they'd like to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement, the multinational framework designed to reduce the impact of climate change worldwide. Toward that, they plan to get rid of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, aka NOAA, which houses multiple environmental agencies, including the National Weather Service. Thomas Gilman, Assistant Secretary of Commerce under Trump, wrote that together these form a colossal operation that has become one of the main drivers of the climate change alarm industry, and as such is harmful for future U.S. prosperity. He doesn't believe in the fatal conceit of planning for the unplannable, and if he gets his way, that will include planning to take an umbrella when you leave the house, because currently the National Weather Service provides free weather data as part of its environmental information services. But Gilman thinks the government should fully commercialize its forecasting operation and sell that data to private companies so that they can Ka-ching! And now, let's talk about something near and dear to Donald Trump's heart.
At a rally in New Hampshire, Trump railed against the southern border crisis, and people fought to entering into the U.S.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They're poisoning.
Trump has long dreamed of mass deportations and recently promised to deport 5% of the U.S. population, including many of the workers we rely on to supply us with cheap meat and produce. Project 2025 calls for the Department of Homeland Security to be replaced with a new standalone border and immigration agency at the cabinet level, effectively centralizing power in the president. The Project 2025 guys get very touchy when people accuse them of planning to go to concentration camps, but they are calling to immediately round up any undocumented immigrants, no matter how long they've been here or how little they've been to the community, and turn them over to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement for detention. They're planning for a significant increase in detention space, raising the daily available number of beds to 100,000. That number would include children. Author of this chapter is Gene Kelly, who drafted Trump's child separation policy last time around. 5,000 children were taken from their parents by the U.S. government, after which DHS simply lost track of them who were never reunited with their families. Hamilton plans to restart this program, deporting migrant children to their home countries as quickly as possible. This would require ending the Flores Settlement Agreement, which requires the government to place unaccompanied children in non-secure facilities that are state licensed to care for dependent children. Instead, they'll return to, quote, large-scale use of temporary facilities, for example, tents. And they don't mean this. They mean this. So yeah, we'll be doing the kids in tents thing again. Project 2025 plans to repeal Section 235 of the William Wilberforce Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act of 2008, aka the TVPRA, which provides numerous immigration benefits to unaccompanied alien children and only encourages more parents to send their children across the border illegally and unaccompanied. And they want to cancel temporary protected status, which prevents the deportation of all manner of refugees, including thousands of Ukrainians who fled after Putin invaded their country. They intend to end H-2 temporary worker programs and drastically curtail the use of T visas for victims of human trafficking. They'd also like America's refugee system to be pay to play with much higher fees on the theory that people fleeing for their lives probably have several $100s hidden in their backpacks to pay for processing. Much of this would require congressional cooperation. But if they don't get it, the Project 2025 guys advise the Trump administration to simply pull the fire alarm and claim emergency authorization to do it anyway. They should, quote, create an authority akin to the Title 42 Public Health Authority that has been used during the COVID-19 pandemic to expel illegal aliens across the border immediately when certain non-health conditions are met, such as loss of the operational control of the border. Actually, Trump did exactly that the first time around when Congress refused to appropriate funds for his Mexico border wall. You know, the one Mexico is going to pay for. And Project 2025 wants him to do it again, but this time for the entire immigration system. Just claim you've lost control of the border and do whatever you want. Let the Supreme Court sort it out later, right?
And then we'll get another bad ruling, and then we'll end up in the Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll get a fair shake.
Well, that's all horrible. But remember like 20 minutes ago when we said these guys want to ban porn? Well, they do. In fact, they want to throw anyone who makes or distributes pornography in jail. Here's what Robert said about it in the foreword to Project 2025. Pornography, manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology and sexualization of children, for instance, is not a political Gordian knot inextricably binding up disparate claims about free speech, property rights, sexual liberation, and child welfare. It has no claim to First Amendment protection. Its purveyors are child predators and misogynistic exploiters of women. Their product is as addictive as any illicit drug and as psychologically destructive as any product. Pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classified as registered sex offenders. And telecommunications and technology firms that facilitate its spread should be shut. Okay, it's a lot. First of all, pornography is 100% protected by the First Amendment. In a 1969 case called Stanley v. Georgia, the Supreme Court ruled that the First Amendment protects the right to private possession of pornography. The court held unanimously that if the First Amendment means anything, it means that a state has no business telling a man sitting alone in his house what books he may read or what films he may watch. Our whole constitutional heritage rebels at the thought of giving government the power to control men's minds. And in a 1973 case called Miller v. California, the Supreme Court articulated what became known as the Miller Case. Under the First Amendment, the government can only ban speech if it's obscene. And they don't mean obscene like gross. They mean that you can only ban materials which, quote, appeal to a morbid interest in sex as opposed to a healthy interest in sex, which depict or describe in a patently offensive way sexual conduct specifically defined by the applicable state law. And the material must, taken as a whole, lack serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. And while the Project 2025 guys may have a moral objection to pornography, that doesn't mean they can outlaw it. So don't go the legal route just yet. But let's not look at it. They don't really intend to shut down half the internet and shutter the billion-dollar porn industry, and you know that because the second part of that quote talks about arresting teachers and public librarians for distributing it, which is something that is not happening. When was the last time you walked into a school library and said, "Miss Sparkle, can you please take me to your X-rated movie section?" That's not a thing. But what is a thing is Florida's Don't Say Gay law that tried to make it a crime for school libraries to carry books that had gay or trans characters, or for teachers to talk about gender identity, or to even acknowledge that gay people exist. Roberts talks about children suffering the toxic normalization of transgenderism with drag queens and pornography invading their school libraries. And pornography, manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology and sexualization of children. He's not trying to ban porn.
I can't do anything.
Anyone who treats LGBTQ+ people like they have a right.
What? I was standing on it. Come on, I was standing on it.
If you use them right, they'll put you in jail. So much for local control.
I was standing on it.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Project 2025 is so toxic that even Trump has tried to distance himself from it. He posted, quote, "I know nothing about Project 2025 and I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal." Now, this is all despite the fact that many of Project 2025's authors are part of his administration and are likely to be pegged for a second Trump administration. But Rolling Stone reports that, quote, "Trump has been privately and very bitterly complaining about the abortion policies laid out in the lengthy Project 2025 manifesto and trashing the Project 2025 linked lunatics who keep demanding restriction." Further, they report that one of Project 2025's contributors said, quote, "Trump can try to distance himself from this, but 70 to 80% of the people who wrote the book are going to be in his second administration. The cabinet, undersecretaries, assistant secretaries, the senior advisors, they're all going to be the foot soldiers in a second Trump administration. You can't look at this constellation of organizations and people without seeing that they're all in." And now Paul Dans, the director of Project 2025, is stepping down from the project, potentially to give Trump additional cover. Now, some have reported this as Project 2025 shutting down, but that doesn't really make any sense because it's a pulse.
What?
The work is largely done and the roadmap is laid. But if Project 2025 makes you concerned for our nation, you can do something about it with today's sponsor, Tab for Democracy. without even needing to get up from the couch. Because Tab for Democracy is a team effort between Vote America and Tab for Change to harness your internet surfing for a good cause. It's easy to use and you can download it in less than 30 seconds. Here's how it works. You simply download the extension, and every time you open up a new tab, there'll be a few ads in the corner of the new tab page. These ads generate the revenue that funds Vote America's charitable impact. The best part? It's completely free. Currently, less than 50% of people younger than 30 vote in presidential elections, and less than 30% vote in non-presidential elections. As a result, the electorate, and by extension the representation in government, is skewed toward the older and voting. To change that, we need to get young people the information and resources they need to vote. Your tabs will support Vote America's effort to make sure that every eligible American has their voice heard in our democracy by removing barriers to voting. The end result is a larger and more diverse electorate, one that is better prepared to hold lawmakers accountable. And Vote America accomplishes this goal in 3 ways. They build easy-to-use software that helps people navigate needlessly complicated voting processes. They run large-scale voter registration and mobilization campaigns, which are goal-oriented and tactic-agnostic. And finally, they engage in impact litigation against states that pass voter suppression laws. And they've recently won lawsuits against Kansas and Georgia. So if you'd like to save democracy one tab at a time, click on the link below. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it makes a huge difference. So click on that link below. And after that, click on this link over here for more Legal Eagle, or I'll see you in court. Are NFTs a scam, or are they the next big thing? Legally speaking, it's a question between Uber and Theranos. Uber was able to sidestep regulation to become a billion-dollar company and basically is interwoven into the fabric of society, whereas Theranos tried to fake it until they made it, but they ran up against physics and biology and were just a giant fraud. NFTs are probably somewhere in the middle. They're certainly not unicorns that are going to solve all problems, but they're probably not all completely useless. And either way, they raise fundamental issues of law. So today we're going to cover only the legal problems associated with NFTs. Others have explained the non-legal issues. For example, Dan Olson of Holding Ideas did a fantastic video called The Line Goes Up, which is not to say that the technology can't overcome these problems, but right now there are some fundamental issues of law with the way that NFTs are used now. And I see 3 main categories of issues with NFTs: on-chain problems, off-chain problems, and what I call innovations so mundane no one should care. Now, to get to those issues with NFTs, we first have to define what an NFT is, because I think almost everyone gets it wrong. An NFT is a non-fungible token. It is an entry on a decentralized ledger called a blockchain. A blockchain is a permanent, unchangeable digital ledger that's used to record transactions in blocks of computer code that are time-stamped and linked together. The code will reveal the history of a digital asset, where it originated, who purchased it, and any subsequent transfers. And in the digital world, the token can be assigned specific uses and properties. Now, it's non-fungible because it is said to be unique, unlike something like Bitcoin, where every single Bitcoin is interchangeable with another one. It's like a dollar bill. Every dollar bill that you possess effectively does the exact same thing as another dollar bill. Same with the Bitcoin. However, an NFT is said to be unique, so they are not fungible with each other. But at this point, let me turn it over to someone more technically minded, my friend Steve Mould, to explain how an NFT actually operates, because it's limited. So Steve, how does an NFT work?
NFTs work in a very similar way to Bitcoins. We track who owns what Bitcoin on a distributed ledger, as you mentioned. In the case of Bitcoin, that distributed ledger is called the Bitcoin blockchain. But NFTs exist on a different blockchain, typically the Ethereum blockchain. The difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum is that the Ethereum blockchain is programmable. You can write programs and publish them to the Ethereum blockchain. These aren't programs that you would run on your computer. These programs run on the blockchain, and they interact with transactions on the blockchain. For example, you could write a program and publish it to the Ethereum blockchain that launches a new cryptocurrency to rival Bitcoin. But it's not just limited to cryptocurrency. You could use the Ethereum programming language to do all sorts of things, including, for example, making NFTs. These programs are called smart contracts, which is misleading because, look, here's an example of a smart contract. There's no legal language in there. It doesn't function as a legal document. Though I can see why they wanted to call them smart contracts, because they enforce transactional rules on the blockchain. Just like normal software, once you publish a smart contract to the blockchain, you can interact with it by sending it commands. For example, you could send a command telling it to mint a new NFT, or you could send a command to change the owner of an NFT. Smart contracts can be used for much more than than just cryptocurrency and NFTs. For example, you could write a smart contract that acts as an escrow between people buying and selling NFTs. The definition of an NFT is quite strict. By consensus, we've agreed that
oh my god, it killed me instantly the second I altered it. What was
as
that?
defined by standard called ERC 721 and one other, then we call that an NFT smart contract. So how does all this relate to digital art? Well, let's have a look at the most expensive Bored Ape ever sold. That's Bored Ape number 2087. Let's head over to Etherscan, a website for exploring the Ethereum blockchain. This is the address of the smart contract that mints Bored Ape NFTs.
Let's not do that. What did you do? No. We know they're problematic. Let's not do that. Waste of time. 12 hours ago, the dog packed 404.
All right, let's call him.
Yo.
Shalom, what's up, buddy? All right, so let's start at the beginning. Obviously, this has been a pretty crazy time for you. I know you talked about how you were working on these videos for a while before ultimately you released it around the time the Chris Tyson stuff was blowing up. How long were you working on that stuff?
About a month before the Chris Tyson stuff came out.
Were you planning to do it far before then, or when you were working at the company, were you planning on doing this, or was it like after you left and you thought this stuff should come out?
No, yeah, I mean, there was people at the company who were just very open with me about, like, things that they saw and experienced or whatever. I was, while I was at the company, I was sort of digging into it a little bit, not intending to make a video, but just kind of out of curiosity. And
you let the Moira run all over me, but we wasted the tank,
digging into it more, and decided that it should go public.
Gotcha. So was some of this stuff like an open secret at the company?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. And like, how far down did this go? Because you were, not to shit on you, you were like a low-level employee, you could say, right? So like, how many people heard rumors of this stuff or knew about this kind of stuff going on? Because there's a lot of allegations we'll get into, but with everything you're talking about, was it like widespread knowledge, like, let's say, about the Chris stuff, behind the scenes, like how much do people know about that? One big question for me, as far as like, because obviously to some extent, I know Jimmy had some vague knowledge of the Shadman stuff, but did anybody know about like that Discord server, anything that's going on? Did you hear rumors about that, or like Chris having inappropriate interactions with minors?
No, I didn't hear anything about the inappropriate interaction with minors, just that, yeah, there was some
Okay, so that was someone know behind the scenes?
Yeah, well, it's also like a 300-person company, like my position was pretty unique. I was also like surrounded by people who interacted with Jimmy on a daily basis, who were also like have one foot out the door at the company, and it was just kind of like a unique situation.
Right. Now, obviously, there's a lot of stuff you're alleging from this. I guess we can kind of work from the beginning with the original video you posted about illegal gambling. From everything I can tell, it seems to me that it probably was the lotteries specifically were definitely illegal. Was there ever talk at the company behind the scenes about like maybe that was a bad idea, or there should have been some oversight with that, or like maybe just kind of like, oh, we'll do this, we'll just do it. Nobody really thought about
I can't really speak to that, but I did hear rumors, or I guess they're not rumors because they're running
23 and 8, 23 and 8.
Right. And were people in the company internally critical of Jimmy for that? Did they have problems with it?
Yeah, I mean, just the one person I spoke to, I guess.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. So, apart from that, the first video I watched, the first time I watched it, I watched like the first 10 minutes of it, and I was just like, this is that I just got out, so I stopped watching. The next time around when I watched the first video, this was like, you need to watch this, it's going to watch it. The first like 15 minutes I had a very hard time, and then past that, I think it really started to come together when you're talking about the gambling stuff. I think it's probably fair to say that some of the points of isolation are kind of whatever. Like, for example, the raccoon thing, like that part is just like whatever. But my kind of grasp on it is you're building a narrative of telling like Mr. Beast fakes the videos, he gains the trust of the audience, and then he pushes this other stuff. Is it fair to say that you don't really care about the videos being fake, like if that was it?
Yeah, well, I don't care about the videos being fake at all. I just care that they're not transparent about it. It's just kind of weird.
Is transparency always important?
Well, dude, like imagine, like nobody really cares that the WWE is fake, but imagine the WWE was like, oh shit, like, guys, this is real and you can compete.
Hey, did I get
I mean, yeah, but I guess from my perspective, I just don't really. I guess the faking videos.
Okay, guys, it is 4:30 in the morning. I'm gonna stop here. I think that's a good place to stop. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm just going to remind you that you've been watching Skycat Live. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for loving me. Thank you so much for the follows and the subs and the likes and the many different games that we played. And thank you for this 14-hour journey. Haven't been able to do 14 hours in a little while, but I got a cut on my heel, and yeah, and I have to maybe like let it heal, and it sucks. So yeah, I got kind of like a little bit more time, which is good. So thank you so much for paying attention to me. Again, you've been watching Skycat Live. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. Put me on in the background. Click on the cat space to donate. Click on the Twitch or the YouTube. Thank you so much for your time. I love you guys. Thank you for being with me, and thank you so much. I love you. Bye. Oh, good, you stopped my YouTube, huh? You just stopped it without my permission, did you? How long did you last? 21 seconds, huh? Before you just full-blown fucking crashed it. You just stopped running it? You just decided not to run it, huh? Yeah, that's piece of shit fucking worthless ass software developers for you.